We start with breaking news. A standoff this evening on Montana Street. Details are limited at this time, but our reporter on scene tells us that Montana Highway Patrol, Butte police officers, and a special response unit surrounded a home on the 600 block of Montana Street. Due to this amendment, the developer is going to have to submit another design plan to the planning department. Now, once that's approved, then they can get the permits for the demolition and, of course, to start building. Commission meeting room was jam-packed. There was people even standing out here in the lobby, all ready to submit their public comment on the Black and Olive proposal. Most of us have heard of the Sip and Dip Lounge in downtown Great Falls. Montana State University has broken ground on what will be a research center. It was behind these doors that city commissioners narrowed down the search for Bozeman's next city manager from 6 to 2. People grabbed some cardboard, broke out the markers and crayons, and created a masterpiece. And if you take a look at this house behind me, it's a perfect example of a way that a house has been renovated but has kept its historical architecture. Three men appeared in justice court this morning on felony robbery charges after what was one of the worst wildfire seasons that Montana has seen in years. Law enforcement was called out for a chemical substance in the Sundance apartment on South 19th. Now, it's believed to be in this apartment, claiming the agency is not properly monitoring the dumping of waste in landfills. They can fill out one of these cards with their thoughts and comments. It's in ponds and marshy areas like this that you'll find amphibians. We just wanted to give you one last update on that story about the standoff we brought to you earlier. Sheriff Ed Lester says that a negotiator is on scene. Residents in the area are advised to stay away. And of course, we will bring you more details throughout the evening.
I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy that I'm home and I'm happy I'm with my family, because a lot of people don't get to say that.
Jolene Barkus is no stranger to Las Vegas. She lived there at one point, and she's even been to the music festival before.
My friend Rose and I go as our annual girls trip.
This year, they went a day early and decided to stay at Mandalay Bay.
We were actually in the same tower. Mandalay Bay is kind of a Y shape. We were in that same tower, but we were on the west side from where the shooter was.
On Sunday, Jolene and Rose went to the concert venue just like any of the other days.
Jason Aldean started, and he'd come out and he played one song, and then he's like, this is how this is gonna work. He's like, I don't talk much. He's like, you guys are here to see me perform and you're here to see me play, so we're gonna have a good time and we're just gonna rock this place. And then he started in, I think it was about the third or fourth song, I can't remember. So he's playing, and then you just hear this pop, 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 pop. And at first I was like, this fireworks? So I looked, and we were on the edge of the bleachers closest to where the stage was. So I turned this way to kind of look, and as I was getting back around, I started to see people running, and the band's still playing. And as soon as I saw those people starting to run, coming from that west side where we always sat, I was like, something's going on. And Rose was like, what? And then it started again. And at that point, I knew.
Jolene and Rose ran for their lives, getting separated, as they didn't know if it was an active shooter in the crowd, if there were multiple shooters. And when the chaos took over, Jolene's husband, who was a highway patrol officer, helped make sure she knew what to do to stay safe.
Like, you have to slow down. You have to, just breathe. And he's like, where's your phone at? And I was like, it's at 44%. And he's like, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your Bluetooth. He goes, stay off your phone. Just text me if you need to. So I just laid there in the back of this truck.
Hours had gone by of Jolene hiding and moving to different locations, not knowing anything, before she found out that a bus was going to take her back to the hotel. And at about 7:30 in the morning, Jolene was allowed back into her hotel room, and then reunited with her friend Rose.
I get back to the room until 10, and as soon as she walked in, I just gave her a giant hug. I told her, like, I'm so sorry I lost you in there. She's like, it's okay. Oh, I was so happy we're both alive.
Jolene knows now that it's going to take some time to recover from this horrific night.
We went to the mall at lunch, and I didn't, during Saturday morning too, or Monday morning, I'd be texting my husband. I was like, I can't stop crying. And he's like, you're coming down from your adrenaline. He's like, this is normal. And I was like, okay. So all day I'd be like, now this is happening. He's like, this is normal. This is you coming out of it. going to the mall, like I was hypersensitive. Like when I came in, because I was like, I just want to get back to my normal schedule. Like I just want to go to work and get through the day. Like I got in here and I was shaking and I was nauseous and I was like, I don't know if I can make it all day.
As she's glad to be home and safe with her family, Jolene still finds herself thinking about the victims.
I'd like to go back to the site. Like I'd like to be able to walk up to the site and put down the candle and just, sit there.
It has been 2 days since Congressman-elect Greg Gianforte was sentenced for his misdemeanor assault. Our Morgan Davies sat down with Gianforte for an exclusive interview this afternoon, and she's here with us in the studio. Morgan.
Yeah, absolutely. Gianforte and we sat down and talked about the night of the assault and also how he plans to move forward as Montanans' low representative.
I'm really excited about getting back to D.C. and working to serve the people of Montana.
Gianforte's focus since his assault on Ben Jacobs has been to move forward. But many people have a lingering question about that night. Talk a little bit about that press release that came out the night of the assault.
I think at this point it's really important that we, I've taken responsibility for my actions, and I've extended an apology to Ben Jacobs. He's accepted it, and he has said he wants to move on, and I'd like to do that as well.
As much as Gianforte wants to move on, the assault is going to follow him right to Washington, D.C.
I've been mentally preparing for this for a long time.
And the congressman-elect has already hit the ground running to start working for Montanans.
Reaching out to our supporters and associations and starting to build a coalition to put a game plan together.
That specific game plan?
So I've been reaching out to various groups in the state, the stock growers, the grain growers, the home builders, sportsmen's groups, and others, because I need to understand what's important to them.
And what are some of the things that you want to be able to have freed up to be able to do more for Montana?
Well, one example, I was talking to a county commissioner, and there's a new proposed rule coming out of the EPA that would require every time we go out and grade a road in Montana, we'd have to have a watering truck as well. That would mean 2 pieces of equipment, 2 operators, just to keep some dust down. And the reality is this would cut in half the road maintenance budget for every county in Montana. That just doesn't make any sense. So it's not hard to find these rules that are having negative impact. I'm going to go to work for Montana, and hopefully we can peel them back.
Gianforte has also begun to put his advisory committees together.
It's going to be veterans, business, healthcare, agriculture, natural resources, and the tribes. So I'll have a committee in each area, and I look forward to establishing them. We have not extended formal invitations yet, but I've started discussions with many of the groups to say this is the direction we're heading.
And finally, from 2 campaigns, went downhill that no one expected, to getting elected and going to Washington. What do you feel, have you learned anything about yourself through this process?
Oh, there's always lessons to be learned. I think the 2 things is, as I've traveled the state, I've now driven 80,000 miles all over the state, stayed in people's homes. I've fallen deeper in love with Montana. That's number 1. And the second thing, this isn't a new lesson, but I've relearned that I'm human and we all make mistakes. And I think we just need to pick ourselves up and go forward.
The election is set to be certified by the Secretary of State tomorrow, and Gianforte says that he expects to be sworn in sometime next week.